8-11. He appoints them their work, and with authority assures them of an ability to go on with it, and of success in it. It is not for you to know the times and the seasons, this would do you no good, but know this, v8, that you shall receive a spiritual power, by the descent of the Holy Ghost upon you, and shall not receive it in vain, for you shall be witnesses unto me in my glory, and your testimony shall not be in vain, for it shall be received here in Jerusalem, in the country about, and all the world over. v8. If Christ make us serviceable to his honor in our own day and generation, let this be enough for us, and let not us perplex ourselves about times and seasons to come. Christ here tells them that their work should be honorable and glorious. You shall be witnesses unto me. They shall proclaim him king, and publish those truths to the world by which his kingdom should be set up, and he would rule. They must openly and solemnly preach his gospel to the world. They shall prove this, shall confirm their testimony, not as witnesses do, with an oath, but with the divine seal of miracles and supernatural gifts. You shall be martyrs to me, or my martyrs, as some copies read it, for they attested the truth of the gospel with their sufferings, even unto death. That their power for this work should be sufficient. They had not strength of their own for it, nor wisdom nor courage enough. They were naturally of the weak and foolish things of the world. They durst not appear as witnesses for Christ upon his trial, neither as yet were they able. But you shall receive the power of the Holy Ghost coming upon you, so it may be read, shall be animated and actuated by a better spirit than your own. You shall have power to preach the gospel, and to prove it out of the scriptures of the Old Testament, which, when they were filled with the Holy Ghost, they did to admiration, ch 18:28, and to confirm it both by miracles and by sufferings. Note, Christ's witnesses shall receive power for that work to which he calls them. Those whom he employs in his service he will qualify for it, and will bear them out in it. That their influence should be great and very extensive. You shall be witnesses for Christ, and shall carry his cause. In Jerusalem, there you must begin, and many there will receive your testimony, and those that do not will be left inexcusable. Your light shall thence shine throughout all Judea, where before you have labored in vain. Thence you shall proceed to Samaria, though at your first mission you were forbidden to preach in any of the cities of the Samaritans. Your usefulness shall reach to the uttermost part of the earth, and you shall be blessings to the whole world. Having left these instructions with them, he leaves them. v9. When he had spoken these things, and had said all that he had to say, he blessed them. So we were told, Lu 24:50, and while they beheld him, and had their eye fixed upon him, receiving his blessing, he was gradually taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. We have here Christ's ascending on high, not fetched away, as Elijah was, with a chariot of fire and horses of fire, but rising to heaven, as he rose from the grave, purely by his own power, his body being now, as the bodies of the saints will be at the resurrection, a spiritual body, and raised in power and incorruption. Observe. He began his ascension in the sight of his disciples, even while they beheld. They did not see him come up out of the grave, because they might see him after he had risen, which would be satisfaction enough, but they saw him go up towards heaven, and had actually their eye upon him with so much care and earnestness of mind that they could not be deceived. It is probable that he did not fly swiftly up, but moved upwards gently, for the further satisfaction of his disciples. He vanished out of their sight, in a cloud, either a thick cloud, for God said that he would dwell in the thick darkness, or a bright cloud, to signify the splendor of his glorious body. It was a bright cloud that overshadowed him in his transfiguration, and most probably this was so, Mt 17:5. This cloud received him, it is probable, when he had gone about as far from the earth as the clouds generally are, yet it was not such a spreading cloud as we commonly see, but such as just served to enclose him. Now he made the clouds his chariot, PS 104:3. God had often come down in a cloud, now he went up in one. Dr. Hammond thinks that the clouds receiving him here were the angels receiving him, for the appearance of angels is ordinarily described by a cloud, Comparing EX 25:22 with Leviticus 16:2. By the clouds there is a sort of communication kept up between the upper and lower world, in them the vapors are sent up from the earth, and the dews sent down from heaven. Fitly therefore does he ascend in a cloud, who is the mediator between God and man, by whom God's mercies come down upon us and our prayers come up to him. This was the last that was seen of him. The eyes of a great many witnesses followed him into the cloud, and, if we would know what became of him then, we may find, Dan 7:13, that one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him in the clouds as he came near before him. The disciples, when he had gone out of their sight, yet still continued looking up steadfastly to heaven, v10, and this longer than it was fit they should, and why so? Perhaps they hoped that Christ would presently come back to them again, to restore the kingdom to Israel, and were loath to believe they should now part with him for good and all, so much did they still dote upon his bodily presence, though he had told them that it was expedient for them that he should go away. Or, they looked after him, as doubting whether he might not be dropped, as the sons of the prophets thought concerning Elijah, 2 Key 2:16, and so they might have him again. Perhaps they expected to see some change in the visible heavens now upon Christ's ascension, that either the sun should be ashamed or the moon confounded, Isa 24:23, as being outshone by his luster, or, rather, that they should show some sign of joy and triumph, or perhaps they promised themselves a sight of the glory of the invisible heavens, upon their opening to receive him. Christ had told them that hereafter they should see heaven opened, JN 151, and why should not they expect it now? 2 angels appeared to them, and delivered them a seasonable message from God. There was a world of angels ready to receive our Redeemer, now that he made his public entry into the Jerusalem above. We may suppose these two loath to be absent then, yet, to show how much Christ had at heart the concerns of his church on earth, he sent back to his disciples 2 of those that came to meet him, who appear as 2 men in white apparel, bright and glittering, for they know, according to the duty of their place, that they are really serving Christ when they are ministering to his servants on earth. Now we are told what the angels said to them. To check their curiosity, you men of Galilee, why stand you gazing up into heaven? He calls them men of Galilee, to put them in mind of the rock out of which they were hewn. Christ had put a great honor upon them, in making them his ambassadors, but they must remember that they are men, earthen vessels, and men of Galilee, illiterate men, looked upon with disdain. Now, say they, why stand you here, like Galileans, rude and unpolished men, gazing up into heaven? What would you see? You have seen all that you were called together to see, and why do you look any further? Why stand you gazing, as men frightened and perplexed, as men astonished and at their wits' end? Christ's disciples should never stand at a gaze, because they have a sure rule to go by, and a sure foundation to build upon, to confirm their faith concerning Christ's second coming. Their Master had often told them of this, and the angels are sent at this time seasonably to put them in mind of it. This same Jesus, who is taken up from you into heaven, and whom you are looking thus long after, wishing you had him with you again, is not gone forever, for there is a day appointed in which he will come in like manner thence, as you have seen him go thither, and you must not expect him back till that appointed day. This same Jesus shall come again in his own person, clothed with a glorious body. This same Jesus, who came once to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself, will appear a second time without sin, Hebrew 9:26, 28, who came once in disgrace to be judged, will come again in glory to judge. The same Jesus who has given you your charge will come again to call you to an account how you have performed your trust, he, and not another, Job 19:27. He shall come in like manner. He is gone away in a cloud, and attended with angels, and, behold, he comes in the clouds, and with him an innumerable company of angels. He is gone up with a shout and with the sound of a trumpet, PS 47:5, and he will descend from heaven with a shout and with the trump of God, 1th 4:16. You have now lost the sight of him in the clouds and in the air, and whither he is gone you cannot follow him now, but shall then, when you shall be caught up in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air. When we stand gazing and trifling, the consideration of our Master's second coming should quicken and awaken us, and, when we stand gazing and trembling, the consideration of it should comfort and encourage us.